cry. Wish away the time to the rhythm and rhyme of a lifeless lullaby. And everybody wants for something, everybody wants for more. Swimming to the lands of the shimmering sands, and we drown just off the shore.
Good morning, friends, and welcome to another painting stream. I'm sort of cropped out of frame here. This is cool. You guys know what the top of my head looks like. You get to see it all the time when I'm painting. Hey, friends, it's time for painting. Yay! God, I'm tired. Kind of overslept this morning, and it's taken some effort to get moving. It's alright, I've got coffee, I've got minis, and I've got you folks in chat, so it's all good. We're going to have some fun, and we're going to make some more progress. There are so many minis in front of me. I look at this and I'm like, did I really decide I'm going to try and paint this many things in 1 week? Like, we had base coats done on them, for the most part. We had base coats done on all of these before we started on this adventure. But there are so many. In fact, I think I'm going to take a picture of all these minis. Yes, 45! We are at 45 subscribers towards our 50 goal. We're 90% of the way there. Well, I say subscribers. What I mean is followers, because we're not actually a Twitch affiliate yet, so we can't have subs. But we do have followers, and we are doing very well getting to where we want to be with that follower count. I'm going to take a picture of this. You guys get to see some of my messy desk and my computer screen. But I want to get a picture of all these minis that I have sitting in front of me. I'm going to post this to my Discord. Yeah. We're slowly getting closer to that follower goal that I set. We actually had a huge explosion of followers about a week ago. In the last week or so, we've gotten like 10 followers. Let's see. We had Warcow Moo, Sarah Elizabeth 106, Hank Delta, Sphere Song, Kvesta 99, KM Kinney 091, Daniora, Paracoon, that's my friend Josh, Lightning Cloud 224, and Kachow Bang. So, yeah, lots and lots of followers in the last week or so. That gets us so tantalizingly close to hitting that 50 goal. I don't want to dwell on it. It's not something I'm going to spend a lot of time talking about, but it is exciting that we have made so much progress getting there. Right now, if you go to my Discord, I am posting a picture now of my computer and the many, many minis. There. And if you're not already a member of my Discord, I'm going to post a link to the Discord in chat. So Lobster, you're up bright and early this morning. Nice to see you here. Today on my stream, I have 4 more minis that I want to complete. So come on over here. We have 2 Furies that we put a wash on last night. to get them ready to go. I'll admit I'm still very nervous about painting these Furies. They are tricky to do, and the last finishing details that I have done are sort of tough to get exactly the way I want them. This is what the last one looked like when I was done, and the details are all just highlights. So that's going to take a fair amount of time in today's stream. And then I have 2 Untamed Beasts that we're going to add some finishing touches to. There's this fellow here who needs a little bit of a wash on a couple of areas. Let's do that first. And this one here with the axe. So last couple of Furies and 2 more of the Untamed Beasts. We're getting so close. So much painting in this week. I really do feel quite accomplished with the amount of work that I've gotten done this week. It's just a lot of little details getting done. Alright, so this is that section I discovered right at the end of yesterday's stream, where I had a portion of the fur on this that hadn't been painted. So I painted it at the very end of yesterday's stream, which means I didn't get a chance to get a wash on it. So let's get a wash on that. Just want to catch some of the texture there. And of course we'll do highlights today to really make it pop. There we go. Wash. And I also added a little bit of stuff to the very, very end of the harpoon here. So let's do a wash on that. I showed some of the Untamed Beasts that I did last week to Amanda, my wife, and she loved the way that the wash interacts with the bone color here. It really does look fantastic. So that's it for that. We are going to do washes on 3 more figures today, hopefully, because I want to do the last 3 Untamed Beasts tomorrow. Hopefully today I don't go 20 minutes over like I did yesterday. I just didn't want to stop. I was still doing stuff. I was like, I just want to keep going. But I did go a little bit over yesterday. Alright. Alright. We're going to do this, folks. We're going to do the edging and fine detail on these fellows. So, the easy part is the beard and horns, because those are the areas that have just very light areas, and we're gonna do those with off-white, which is the brightest paint that I own. It says off-white, but it's a very, very bright white. And we're gonna just dry brush it in. Like I said, this is the easy bit. Doesn't mean it's, I can just go. Good morning, Sphere Song. How are you doing today? Glad you could be here as we get a little bit of finishing detail onto some of these. So chat, a reminder that we are only a few days away from the art social day that I have planned. Community Art Day for my stream. So you can see what I'm doing. I just am trying to catch the edges of some of the beardy areas of this fellow so that you have some more contrast. To sort of, you want to highlight the details, really. It's pretty good. It's tricky. This fellow in particular doesn't have a lot of definition in some of these. But we've got the wash to sort of do the low lights, and then we've got the regular coloring, and now we're just doing some highlights to make things pop. It looks okay. It's not perfect, but that's alright. These Furies were a particular challenge for me. So far so good, Severe Song? Well, I mean, it's early yet. Nice and bright there. Get some edges on this skull area as well. Doing his tail. Alright, now, this is tricky. I want to sort of highlight some of the ridges on his horns here. Without getting paint too deep into the ridges, so I'm trying to go across the tops. It's definitely tricky. It worked pretty well. Cool. Let's also get his talons and the peculiar little bony spikes that come out of his thighs, just to give them a little bit more, a little bit more detail. That didn't go perfectly. Sorry. pretty good. Pretty good. Okay. Oh, can I get his teeth, do you think? A little smile. There. Alright. Left a little bit around those. I don't know if there's any way to recover from that. So I'm just going to leave it. Okay. Let's move on to the next figure. Yeah, just a happy little smile. They look so happy to be here. Eee. Is that like happy little trees? If I was the Bob Ross of miniature painting, that would be a pretty spectacular place to be, I think. Just a chill, welcoming, enjoyable place to hang out and watch somebody do art. Like I always say, I'm always learning. Oh no, I painted his knee. Didn't mean to do that. So when I'm doing this dry brushing, I get to a stage where there's just exactly the right amount of paint on the brush. It's sort of something that I can't intentionally do. Like, initially I almost always have too much paint on the brush. And as you go, of course, it dries and slowly less paint available to transfer onto the figure. But you hit that sort of perfect amount of paint between the bristles and on the brush. And then when you're painting, it just, there's a sensation, there's a feel to having the right amount of paint on the brush. The bristles catch on the model in a very distinctive way when you have just the right amount of paint there. I don't think you can probably tell from watching on stream, but when I'm drawing the brush across the figure, I get a sensation of the brush sort of briefly catching on the model as the slightly dried paint interacts with the model. It's a tactile thing. Just adding some quick details to some of the bone here. Interesting how just a little paint can make make a difference in how something appears. It's that minor bit of brightening that adds that little extra texture. Part of what's so great about this particular stage of doing the painting is that it adds a sense of scale to the model. You're adding just these little details, and as a result of these little details, the model looks less small. You know, it is a very wee thing. But with the addition of these finer details, if you look at it closely, you're going to catch these extra little bits. I just noticed something I want to get. Oh, there's dew claw here, back claw. Okay. I think that's enough for bright white highlights on here. Give it some definition. Pretty happy with that. No, I added that skull. So these bases were just very plain flat bases with nothing at all on the bases at all. And this one had, this little plinth that he's standing on, but that's pretty much it. So I added this sort of lump here that's just constructed out of green stuff. And then I have a sprue of skeleton bits as well as a box full of skulls, and I just added some extra detail. This actually always makes me grin. I had this skeleton arm holding onto a sword, and I stuck that in here, and then I was like, I'm gonna stick a skull in here too, and it looks like there's a skeleton rising up out of the ground behind this guy now, which is just a hilarious detail that I really enjoy. Alright, that was the easy part on this model. Now for the hard part. I talked about this when I was working on the other Fury. I'm not used to working with really dark colors. And I want to highlight some of the musculature and sort of detail that is in the sculpt. But because the purple is so dark, the wash doesn't really bring out those details very much. It does a little bit, but it doesn't do the whole job. So I need to do highlights, and the real dilemma here is I don't want them to be blinding. I want them to be as subtle as I'm capable of making them. I'm not super happy with how they came out on this guy. What I'm using is pale blue as a contrast to the purple. And the trick is, I don't really know. I don't know if I have the technique here. Like on this guy, I dry brushed it in, just as lightly as I could. And then I sort of toned it down with purple a little bit. I feel like I want to try and put the highlights in with a sort of watery paint, but my experience in working with watery paints, like when I water a paint down to try and use it for detail work, it just flows differently, and it doesn't go where I want it to go. Alright, I'm going to try this. I'm going to try adding a little water to this paint. Make it a little thinner. And then I'm going to try dry brushing with this Wargamer detail brush, which is a very fine-tipped brush, but it's not stiff the way a regular dry brush is. I'm going to find a surface that's less prominent. And then we're just going to see what happens if I do this with sort of a watered down paint. I don't know, maybe that's not watered down enough. This is not a technique that I feel super confident with. It's a good idea, Sphere Song, to water it down with an oil to keep the viscosity, but lower the paint content. I feel like, ironically, the dry brush might be a better means of administering this, because it is a stiffer brush. Yeah, that's more subtle. That's closer to what I'm looking for. I've got very little paint on the brush now. That's actually kind of what I'm looking for. Okay, so what I did was, I got some paint on the brush and then dipped it in my water. And then, like, dry brushing cleaned the brush off. Oh. Okay. That's not bad. Okay, let's try a more visible area. Oops. Nope, still too much paint on that. I don't know, this is tricky. This is why, after I did that first Fury, I took a break from the Furies. I was like, I'm gonna just take a little break on these folks. I know the theory of what I want to do, just don't have the technique, really. Balancing act, really. I think a lot of what I'm learning to do in picking up new painting techniques is building new instincts. You know, as I do this stuff, I'm going to pick up these new techniques, and then through practice, I'll get better at them. So, paint on brush. Wash it almost completely off. Get it between the bristles like a dry brush. And then I am adding paint to the model, but it's very washed out. Oh, that's perfect. That's exactly what I was going for. Okay, so I've got the theory of it now. I might want to change to the dry brush, just because it has stiffer bristles. This isn't working really. Alright, I'm going to switch to my dry brush. Now that I've got a theory of how I'm going to get this done. Need coffee. Thinning the paint on the brush, really. I was Fear Song, your boyfriend is trying to learn new maths and it's not going well. I know exactly how he feels. I love programming, but I know exactly how it is when something you know should make sense doesn't click. The undersides of these ones are so messy. pretty happy with how this is working now. Just some subtle shading. Get to the scariest bit in just a couple of moments here. Scariest bit is the face. To subtly bring a little detail into the brow here. The brightness right there. Like that. Bat nose, upper lip, between this cheek. Yeah. Look at his ears. Pretty good. Pretty good. I want to go overboard on it. But that gave him some personality in the face. There. Cool. Alright. One more Fury to go. Thinning the paint on the brush.
Running round satellites, dancing rings, saving
Yeah, it's not a bad idea, Sphere Song, to get some form of magnifying so that chat can get a better glimpse of what I'm doing. Especially when I'm doing this sort of really super fine detail that might not be visible on camera. I would love to invest more into this stream. Some of that's going to have to come after I've reached affiliate, which again, we're so tantalizingly close. 5 more subs, or I'm sorry, 5 more follows. So, yeah, it's gonna happen. Gonna reach affiliate. I don't know if I'm gonna reach it this month, which was my sort of rough goal I had given myself, was to see if I can reach affiliate by the end of May. But once I reach affiliate and have more confidence that this is not just a quick stream that I'm spending a little bit of time on, but something that I'm going to actually dedicate more time and effort to. Once I reach that point, I'm definitely going to invest in more technology for the stream. This is pretty much what I was trying to do. It's a little brighter than I was applying a little paint to make some highlights. Chip on your shoulder, sweat and dirt on your hands. Machines in slumber start to lumber outside. Head full of numbers, see the colors collide. Search safest sanctuary, dropping them dollars on you, thank you very much. By the way, no refunds, back into the boneyard, badlands we run. I saw a siren singing, shifting through the shots, a ringing, frying, burning, guts a stinging, bringing you the pain. Come on down and join the party tonight. We ain't the kind to turn away from a fight. Chips on the shoulders, sweat and dirt on our hands, 'cause we're breaking down the borders as we light up the land, yeah. Okay. You ain't a skag, are you? Let's do the face. Is my focus going to remain painting? I think for now, my focus is going to remain painting. For board gaming, I board game on the Battleground Games Live channel. And for video gaming, I mean, I have done some video game streams in the past. I could come back and do a few more of those. But for right now, this is primarily a painting stream. Yeah, okay. Pretty good. Pretty good. Whew. All right. I think that's the most intense detail work I'm going to be doing today. I do want to, very quickly, just touch these eyes quickly to give them a little bit more depth and personality. So I'm getting out my lemon yellow, very, very bright paint. And I want my Psycho brush for this. Touch of color to the eyes. There. Doesn't that look better? Cool. One more. Staring into all their yellow eyes without blinking once. This lobster of revenge. That is where the wild things are, I believe. There. Oh, yeah. Perfect. All right. I'm going to add a little paint to the rim of the bases for these. I'll do all three. For the Raptorix, I did the rim in just black. So we're going to just do black surface primer, quick and easy. And then we're going to call these folks done. Definitely some fun today, some experimenting, figuring out technique. That's absolutely what I want these streams to be all about. So I'm so pleased with how today's been going so far. I am kind of keeping an eye on the time. So what I still want to get done today is I've got these two Untamed Beasts. I want to work on them. And I want to do washes on 3 more Untamed Beasts to finish tomorrow. We'll see how much time I have for all of that. In the meantime, I'm going to do these bases with a black rim. Just matte black. Very simple. Looks like it's going to take a couple coats probably. ridiculously ambitious of me to say, I'm going to take all 15 figures that I've got a base coat on and do finishing touches on them this week. The fact that I've got 6 figures left, 5 figures left now, that's pretty impressive. Sphere Song, that sounds fantastic. Sphere Song says back in the day they had Necrons with mostly black but a green oil that gave them sort of an iridescence when the light hit them just right. That something like that might be nice on these bases. That does sound cool. That sounds like another technique I should add to my list of things I want to try, is doing iridescence with oils. Yesterday I said one of the techniques I want to attempt is to give the illusion of translucence. So I need to find a figure that has sort of robes that I could try and do that with. As an experiment, because I love learning new techniques and achieving new effects. Yeah, that's those bases done. As long as I'm doing bases. So, yesterday, I was trying to decide for my iron golems whether I should do a brass rim to the base or this bright red rim. And I debated long and hard about it, and I talked to my wife about it, and I put it up for vote online, and I think I'm gonna go with the brass rims, because the red rims are cool, but they look kind of gamey, or they make it look more like a game piece and less like a mini, if that makes sense. Like, that's something you might expect to see in a chess piece or something like that. So I think I'm going to go with the brass. You were going to vote brass? Okay. So let's do that right now. That color is Rune Lord Brass. Hopefully this is dark enough that it can go over that red and obscure it. I think it is. It is a base color. This bottle has so much paint dried onto it. second coat. That's fine. So I might just not do the finishing touches on the Untamed Beasts that I have left. I might just go straight to doing a wash on the other 3 and see if I can do 7 figures in one day tomorrow, because I'm not going to have to do a wash on any figures tomorrow. So we might just complete all the Untamed Beasts in one session. Just do a wash today to prep for that. And then spend 2 hours, because it took me about 2 hours to do those 2 figures. Or I'm sorry, it took me about 1 hour to do those 2 figures, but part of that hour was sort of waffling about technique and trying to figure out how I was going to do the edges. Yeah, this is definitely going to need a second coat. You can, I don't know if you folks can see it, but I can definitely see the red through there. But this is going to work. So now all the iron golems will be done. I've gotten 3 Furies done this month. And if I'm able to do it, I'll have gotten 7 Untamed Beasts done, because I've got 4 of them. No, I've gotten 9 Untamed Beasts done. Got 4 of them mostly done already. And I've got 5 more to go. It's just an astonishing number of figures for me. I mean, I'm not a fast painter. We have established this. So that's just an astonishing number of figures for me to do in such a short period of time. You like the red, but you will always vote metallics? Fair. You know what I'm really looking forward to? On Monday, this coming Monday, the 31st, for my community art day, I'm really looking forward to experimenting with non-metallic metal, because I want to see if I can. I don't think I'll master it in a single session. That's unrealistic expectations. But I'm looking forward to playing with it as a technique and trying to add it to my repertoire of abilities that I have. I'm hopeful that Monday is going to be a lot of fun. I hope folks will join me and post things to my Discord so that I can share their art as well. If you have access to a store that has that free figure, the Stormcast Eternal demo figure, you can paint along as I paint and show us what you've done. But you can post any art you want to my Discord, to the Share Your Accomplishments thread, and if you give me permission to, I'll show it off on stream as part of Community Art Day, and we'll all ooh and ah over your artistic accomplishments. Just want this to be a fun day for everybody to sort of talk art and show off what they've been doing. And I'm looking forward, as I said, to testing some new techniques, trying to do things that I'm not as familiar with and comfortable with. So I'm going to be doing stuff with non-metallic metals and light sourcing as part of that stream. Just experimenting. I mean, I figure if you've got a free figure that you didn't pay for, why not experiment and try and do something dramatically different with it? You folks know me, I'm always looking to learn new techniques, do something interesting and new with my painting. Okay, goodbye red. Hello, brass. That is all 4 of those done. Might do a second coat on those, but for now, they match the other ones pretty much. How much time do we have? Oh, we've got 45 minutes. That's time enough to do something. I don't know, I'm bad with estimating time, as you all know. So I'm not certain how much I'll be able to get done today. I think I'm going to start with washes. That way, if I have time left over after doing a wash on these 3 figures, I can do some fine detail on those other 2. But if I run out of time after doing washes, then I don't have to worry about going over today. Amanda is going to be home for lunch at noon, so I don't want to go over too much. I want to be able to say hello to my wife and enjoy some lunch. So I'm going to do a wash on these 3 figures here. Here. Again, doing Agrax Earthshade, which I've been doing on all of these figures. These are the last figures I will be doing touch-ups on this week. So, assuming that get all this washing done today, tomorrow, going in and doing final details on these. Just being fairly liberal with this.
Forbidden fields and empty meadows, I wind and wander.
Not a lot of... I don't do a lot of careful technique with the washes. I'm just sort of mashing it in there. Let the wash do the work, really. I have seen some folks who use several coats of washes to do interesting paint effects. There's one of the Battleground community folks who's been posting videos of working on Nurgle, where he does pretty much all the painting just with washes. Just wash over wash over wash. Which is an interesting idea. And has some interesting effects. But I'm not going for that kind of effect right now. Just want to get into the nooks and crannies with the wash and make these models come to life. Here you'll see it on this fellow's abs as the wash goes in. Suddenly there's more detail that wasn't there before. Sphere Song, that sounds like fun stuff with D&D. I'm amused by the idea of a character who relies on insight checks and intuition. Fur. These Untamed Beast figures are a lot of fun just in the details that they have. I've enjoyed getting all their base coats done over the past couple of weeks. Done with the wash. I feel like these washes are super easy, but a little bit time consuming. I don't know. I spend a fair amount of time trying to get all the little details and nooks and crannies. Wash in there, that's going to do a lot of work on those horns. Look at that. Ah, so satisfying. This is definitely a case where the sculptor has done all the work, and I go in and put this wash on here, and poof, suddenly it's better. Yeah, a wash can definitely have an almost magical effect. I mean, I've talked about this a lot. It obscures your mistakes, right? It gets down into the cracks and covers up things where you sort of make little blemishes that you're not proud of. And then it brings out details like it just did with these horns. Sort of unifies the palette. Like, because I'm doing a brown wash on the entire figure, the areas that might have been too contrasty suddenly feel like they're a part of the same unit. I mean, I love having color in figures. Doing these red robes and stuff definitely is a good look for these pieces, but you don't want them to be the main focal point, really. So doing a brown wash over them, and this pink skin that I did, It looked terrible. It was just too pink. Too pink. But then when you do a wash over it, suddenly it looks much more reasonable. It hides the sin. I love Adam Savage. I think this was the right call to do these washes first and then do some highlights on a couple of figures. If I run out of time today, at least I've got these figures ready to go for tomorrow. So the plan tomorrow is to finish up the last of the Untamed Beasts, which means edges and details on these 3 figures that I'm putting a wash on right now. I'm going to do the edges of the bases for these folks. I think I'm just going to make them brown. There's a lot of brown in these figures. Fully commit to the brown. And we're going to add that flocking to these bases to make them a little more interesting as well. I think that came out really well on the 3 figures that I've already completed, the 4 figures that I've already completed from the Untamed Beasts. On this figure. So much time getting those eyes to look the way I wanted them to, pretty much. I want to lose them in the wash. I'll tell you, chat, eyes are hard. I don't think you need to tell you that, but if you've heard it before, I'll just reinforce that. Eyes are hard. Of course, just because they're hard doesn't mean they're not super satisfying when you get it to look pretty good. Not perfect, but I'm pretty satisfied with the expression I got on his face. Who would ever want to be perfect? I agree. You don't want to be, or at least I want to always be pushing myself. I wouldn't be satisfied to be doing just the things I know how to do. I mean, it's nice to do something well and to know how to do one thing and to just do it. But my whole goal is to be constantly pushing myself to do something new and interesting. I think it's the base coat down on this fellow. Or the wash down on this. Oh, I didn't do this. I did his axe, but not his hammer. I feel like I probably intended to paint this different color there. Let's do that quickly now. Constantly discovering things as I paint. But I feel like I probably intended to do the bands there on this axe. For some reason I just never did.
immediately after applying a wash. It's a little bit of moisture on the model. Something like the sculptor who discovers their figures as they work. Isn't that attributed to Michelangelo? I think. Maybe it's Rodin. The figure is already in the marble. I don't think that I would claim to be that level of artist. But definitely part of what I enjoy doing as I'm painting is discovering the hints and clues that the sculptor has already put in there. I always say my goal in painting a mini is to find those sculpted bits that are already there and call attention to them, highlight them. Like that. Looks good. So let's put that there on the side. One more. One more figure to put a wash on. I will say, I have been looking forward all week to doing the rest of these Untamed Beasts, because the ones that I've already done were so much fun and look so good now that I've gotten the finer details on them. So I've been looking forward with great relish and anticipation to these last few Untamed Beasts that we've got. It's kind of why I left them for last. You know, it's like dessert. Save the piece that's going to be the most fun or the most delicious for very, very last. End on a high note. So it's going to be really nice tomorrow to finish out the week with these figures. Like, look how cool this figure is. It's a great pose, great action. It's going to be a lot of fun to do those final details.
Dive into the ocean's hope at the fading of the day. Aquatic kaleidoscope, see the colors sweep and sway. Down in the deep, deep blue.
I'm going to have to see if I can find the last few folks to get those last 5 followers. I'd like to get those last 5 followers tomorrow. That would be nice. I don't know if I can. I feel like any of my friends who would have followed this have by now. I don't know how to reach anybody who isn't already following. I mentioned this yesterday. My social media reach is not extensive. just 5 more. Just 5 more followers. It feels so attainable. You know one guy maybe? Okay. Well, hey, you know, that would bring it down to 4. Close to done with the wash. I'm really happy with the way this particular shade of brown that I painted this figure works with this wash. I'm going to have to remember that. This wash complements this shade of brown so well. This dagger is that thing that I had to glue back together the other day. It came out okay. Can barely tell. Thank you, Sir Tom. Oh, I appreciate that. Alright, So, those ones here. What is this cloak? I'm really happy with how this figure looks now. I chose to do the cloak a different color from the loincloth, the thing at the waist, the skirt. And I think that was an excellent decision, because this figure has a lot of range to it now. Excuse me. Alright, I think, one last quick look, but I think that is the wash done on the last of the Untamed Beasts. Looking pretty spectacular. Cool. Alright. Oh. And we have 9 minutes left? What can I do in 9 minutes? I had mentioned the idea of adding some tufts to the Raptorix and Furies. So I don't know if I've shown off tufts on stream, but they are such a delightful cheat when you are doing basing detail. You can get a variety of tufts. There's Army Painter makes a whole bunch of them, and there's a few that you can get from Games Workshop, from Citadel. But they're all basically the same concept, which is that they are pre-made little grassy knoll things. These are wasteland tufts, which I chose because the brown base for them will roughly match the brown that I've already got on these figures. And oh my goodness, are these things simple to use. So you grab your sheet of tufts, there we go. You choose a tuft from it, and it's already adhesive. I may choose to go back in and glue these in place because the adhesive is not 100%. But then you just jam it on there. Boop, boop. Instant texture. What a cheat. What? It's too easy. Maybe I'll put a second one on this base. Do a tiny one. There. Yeah, the only real trick with tufts is selecting, because like I said, there's so much variety in these things. The only trick is finding ones that will blend well with the bases you've got. And if you've got something on your base that you're not happy with, like there's a blep or a blemish or something like that, just stick a tuft on it, and poof, it's gone. I always feel so cheap when I do this, because it really is effort-free. If you don't glue them down, they will pop off. The adhesive is not perfect. But they are a fun way to add a little bit of extra texture with almost zero effort. So much better than painstakingly hunting for moss and drying it out. I mean, I'm a fan of all different kinds of ways to do bases, obviously. We already talked about the fact that I added those skeleton bits to these bases. Like these skulls here are not part of that base. I added them in. That skeleton rising up out of the base there, I added that in. You know what? I'm going to rust up that sword a bit. Where's my dry brush? They always say any piece of art is never truly done. It's simply abandoned. These folks are pretty much done, but I feel like there's a couple little tiny details I can still add. And one of them is I'm going to add some rust to this sword just to make it a little less pristine. So I think I didn't ever get to do any fine detail on those other two Untamed Beasts. We'll work on those tomorrow. But we got some detail done on these folks, and I think it came out looking very nice in the end. So we're done with the three Furies. Looks nice. We got brass on the bases for these. I'm going to do a second coat on that at some point. But they're pretty much done. We've got these that we did last week. The Untamed Beasts that we've already done. And that's with the flocking on the base. Pretty happy with those. And we've got 5 more Untamed Beasts to finish tomorrow. So I'm going to say that was a productive stream. I had some fun. We definitely got some work done. We are ever closer to completely done with all of these figures that I'm working on. And of course, right down here, our followers, we're getting ever closer on that as well.
it's been an excellent month and a fantastic week, and I am so overjoyed with all the progress that I've been able to get done. Sphere Song, I will tell Amanda hello. She is here now and making herself some lunch. I'm going to go join her. Tonight at 7:30 p.m. Eastern on twitch.tv/battlegroundgames live, we will be playing some form... Oh, thank you very much, Lobster. Yeah, we will be playing some form of audience play-along game. I think that we've decided we're going to do either a cooperative game or... Well, we'll do something with the audience is our goal. So we're going to do that tonight. And then, of course, tonight, later in the evening at 10 p.m. Eastern, Amanda will be reading another chapter of Green Witch by Susan Cooper, because she's reading now from the Dark is Rising series. So, yeah. And tomorrow, I'll be back to finish work on the last 5 of these Untamed Beasts. It's going to be fantastic. And of course, next Monday is Community Art Day here on twitch.tv/Thanatos. So I hope folks can be here on Monday the 31st, starting at 10 a.m., when we're going to talk about art, do some art, show off some art, and I'm going to work on this Stormcast Eternal figure. So, yeah. Good times. Thank you so much for joining me, everybody. This was a ton of fun, and I am overjoyed with the progress that I'm making. And I will see you again soon. Be excellent to each other, and enjoy doing whatever art it is you choose to do. Have a great day, everybody. I'll see you around.